have come here to better the kingdom, to help humanity. The movement that came here was the Occupy movement, and they dubbed this place and this effort as Occupy Standing, where all of you are sitting, without exception. There were supplies that were at least 6 feet high, and we have some pictures that we will happily show you. These aisles up here were filled to the brim, almost to the top of the pulpit, of things that were directed towards relief to individuals in the Rockaways and Staten Island and beyond. The effort here was organic in many respects, and yet it was magnificent. Magnificent because it was this huge organization that came out of people's hearts. It was staffed, it still is staffed, as they come in and out today, with the most beautiful people, because they are people who are devoted to bettering humanity. Now outside you will have noticed a sign that said, "Common aid, not charity." And this is the only thing I would disagree with them on as a Christian. For you see, charity for a Christian is about sharing. It's not about a free giveaway. Over the years, since the Acts of the Apostles, when, if you remember, Ananias and Sapphira, who were killed because they didn't share with the community, charity has gotten a bum rap. It's been perverted into sorts. Because it's like it's this top-down thing. But we're going to tell people what you need, and we're going to give it to you. We're never going to ask you. We're never going to be in a relationship with you. We're just going to give it to you. Our own Christian heritage has many, many examples of missionaries who have gone in and not establishing relationships with people, but have told them what's the best thing for them. This Occupy movement is the antithesis of that. It is about relationships with everybody, regardless of class, background, gender, sexual orientation, race. It is one human connecting with another. I'm reminded of a theology in Africa that was espoused by Desmond Tutu called Ubuntu. And Ubuntu says that I cannot be fully human unless you are fully human. And our efforts then are to make each other fully human, to reflect the divine that is within each one of us. In the gospel today, we heard a wonderful pericope or parable or story from Jesus talking about the scribes. Now, the scribes in Jesus' time were sort of social climbers. They had a lot of money. They didn't have recording devices. And so the scribes would record all the information that was needed. They would also transcribe the Torah. And they had a lot of money. And boy, did they like to throw it around. They liked to have people acknowledge their piety. And they liked to obviously sit in the best seats in the synagogue, and they wanted everyone to know how wonderful they are or were. You know, we do that ourselves. In the last presidential election, one of the vice presidential candidates, Paul Ryan, when he was campaigning in Ohio, he wanted to go to a homeless shelter and help out for a photo op. Well, his whole entourage was late. So late, in fact, that the shelter had closed. But his people made them reopen it. Not to serve people, but so that Paul Ryan could be photographed washing dishes. Scribe. So people would think how wonderful he is, this sort of throwing it out there. But we do this too. Here throughout the week, when this was turning into a holy warehouse, little children came in from nowhere with their parents, because their parents wanted to teach their children how to serve. And these little children, like this tall, were carrying little boxes and placing them where they needed to go for no credit, no acknowledgement, but because out of love they decided to do it. One of our churches had a Boy Scout troop who had collected a bunch of materials, supplies and food and canned goods and things like that. And instead of just bringing it here to be distributed to people in need, the immediate need, they said, no, we're going to wait. We're going to wait because we want to get all of the Boy Scouts together so they can come here and drop it off together. Now that may sound like, well, what's wrong with that? The fact of the matter is that God asks us to give, not for credit, but out of love. When I was a child, I was asked to set the table, and I hated it. It was one of those things that was, roll your eyes and lick your tongue, and I can't stand doing that. It was part of being in my household. Today, out of love, I just do it as an expression of love for my family. It's just what you do, not for credit, but to express your love. It's how we love each other, is through service. Now, throughout this entire hurricane's relief, we are asked to give as we are able. And I don't think Jesus asks us to give as we are able. I think Jesus asks us to give in our disability, how we are disabled, the things that get in our way, the things that get in our way to God, food and money, clothing, the things that we cherish that we don't really want to share. Jesus asks us to give those things. Because you see, that's our poverty. Attachment to things that are unimportant. Attachment to things that we don't want to share. We don't want to share our time, our resources. Oh, we'll just give a little bit. Many people have cleaned out their closets and brought their clothing here. And I think many people thought, that's it. That's all I need to do. I feel so much better. But they just cleaned out their closet. They didn't bring their best. They didn't bring the best of themselves. Day after day here, because of a registry that Occupy Sandy had established, Amazon, truck after truck, 5 or 6 trucks a day, were dropping things off from people around the country who wanted to help, who didn't need a place of honor in the synagogue or to walk around in long roads. They gave their best to help humanity. This is what Jesus is talking about. For when we give just sort of something, we give from our abundance. But when we give those things that get in our way to God, that get in our way to peace and justice and fairness and love of neighbor, when we give those things away, we give out of our poverty, poverty of our spirit and soul. Occupy Sandy is probably one of the most important things in my recent life that I have ever experienced. These are some of the most beautiful human beings I have ever come across. They are amazing. Now, Occupy had some political stuff on Wall Street. Some people are confused about that. But this effort in this house of worship, in this place, is where the real spirit of Occupy lays. It is here. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's amazing. Occupy Sandy is huge because it betters the kingdom, humanity,